The sun rose over New Seoul, casting golden light across the unified city. Jin Park stood at her window, watching people move peacefully through the streets below. 5,000 years of global harmony was an achievement worth celebrating, but as the official historian tasked with documenting this milestone, Jin felt oddly troubled. Her apartment chimed. "Professor Park, your transport is waiting," the gentle voice of the home system announced. Jin gathered her data tablet and stepped into the transport pod. It glided silently through the city toward the history archives where she had spent the last decade studying the unification era. The archives building stood tall and elegant, its walls storing humanity's collective memory. Inside, Jin's workspace was cluttered with holographic displays showing Earth's transformation through millennia. Where once nations fought over resources and ideologies, now stood a single planetary government that had maintained peace longer than any civilization before it. "Working early again?" asked Bo, her research assistant, bringing tea. "The council wants the 5,000th anniversary documentation finalized by tomorrow," Jin explained, sipping the warm liquid. Bo nodded, then lowered his voice. "There's something strange in the restricted section. I found it while reorganizing the pre-unification records." Jin followed Bo to a sealed room at the back of the archives. Inside, he activated a hidden panel, revealing ancient paper documents, actual physical records, not digital ones. "These shouldn't exist," Jin whispered, carefully examining the yellowed pages. All records were digitized centuries ago. The documents contained astronomical observations from the early unification era, with handwritten notes in the margins. "Signal detected, not Earth origin, and most disturbing, they're watching." Jin's hands trembled. "Oh, this suggests first contact happened before unification, not after, as we've been taught." Before Bo could respond, the archive door slid open. Elder Han, head of the Global Unity Council, entered with 2 security officers. "Professor Park," he said calmly, "please come with me." The council headquarters occupied what was once called Antarctica, now a temperate region thanks to climate restoration. Jin had never visited before. From the transport window, she saw the massive dome structure nestled among green hills that had been ice caps 5 millennia ago. Elder Han led Jin to a chamber deep underground. "What you discovered was not meant to be found," he said, activating a wall-sized display. "But perhaps it's time for truth." The display showed Earth from space, then zoomed out to reveal the solar system. Han touched another control, and suddenly, thousands of tiny red markers appeared surrounding their solar system in a perfect sphere. "Monitoring stations," Han explained. "For 5,000 years we've maintained cosmic silence." "But why?" Jin asked. "Because we aren't alone, and we learned early that we weren't ready to join the larger community." Han revealed how the earliest space explorers had encountered evidence of advanced civilizations that had observed Earth's violent history with concern. The founders of the Unity Council made a decision. Humanity would unify, advance technologically, but hide its presence until ready. "We've masked our transmissions, camouflaged our settlements, and watched the stars in silence," Han said. He led Jin deeper into the facility, through security checkpoints that scanned their DNA at each door. Finally, they entered a circular room with a central pillar reaching from floor to ceiling. "This is the beacon," Han said, "built by the founders as our insurance policy." Jin approached the pillar cautiously. "What does it do?" "If activated, it would send a signal across the galaxy announcing our presence and technological capability. It was designed as a last resort if humanity ever faced extinction." Han placed his hand on Jin's shoulder. "For 5 millennia, we've developed in peace, hidden from eyes that might not understand our potential. Our technology now rivals what our observers possessed when they first found us." Jin's mind raced with implications. "The public deserves to know." "Perhaps," Han agreed. "The Council has been debating this very question. Some believe we've hidden long enough. Others fear what contact might bring." As they spoke, an alert sounded. Han checked his communication device, his expression darkening. "What's wrong?" Jin asked. A security breach at the Deep Space Monitoring Station on Pluto. Someone's accessing restricted systems. The room's displays activated automatically, showing a man Jin recognized from academic circles, Tae Kim, a brilliant but controversial scientist. "I free humanity from its self-imposed prison," Tae announced in the transmission. 5,000 years of hiding ends today. Jin and Han watched in horror as Tae overrode security protocols at multiple facilities across the solar system. Warning. Lights flashed around the beacon. "He's trying to activate it remotely," Han said, fingers flying across control panels. "If he succeeds?" The beacon hummed to life, its central pillar glowing with increasing intensity. "Too late," Han whispered. Jin stared as energy gathered within the ancient device. Humanity's 5,000 years of peaceful silence was about to end, and no one could predict what would answer their call. The beacon's activation shook the entire Antarctic complex. Jin steadied herself against the wall as blue-white energy surged through the ancient machine, sending its signal racing outward from Earth at impossible speeds. "What have you done?" Elder Han shouted at the screen where Tae Kim's face still appeared, now wearing a satisfied smile. "I've awakened humanity from its long sleep," Tae replied calmly. 5,000 years hiding like frightened children is enough." Han ordered immediate security lockdown across all solar system outposts, but it was too late. The beacon signal had already left the solar system, expanding outward in all directions. 3 days later, Jin sat in an emergency council meeting, with representatives from all Earth settlements and colonies. The room buzzed with tension and fear. "The signal will reach the nearest star systems within weeks," said Min, the science advisor. "We have no way to recall it. Tae Kim and his stellar vanguard followers have hidden themselves well," reported Security Director Kwan. "They've taken control of the Pluto monitoring station and several deep space outposts." Jin listened as arguments erupted between Council B members. Some believed exposure to the wider universe was inevitable and perhaps beneficial. Others feared Tae had doomed them all. "Professor Park," Elder Han said suddenly, silencing the room. "As our historian, what insight can you offer?" Jin stood slowly. "Our archives show our ancestors chose isolation for a reason, but those records are incomplete. I believe the answer lies on Europa." 2 weeks later, Jin's research vessel broke through Europa's icy surface. The underground ocean of Jupiter's moon had been colonized centuries ago, its vast waters now home to 3 million humans living in submerged cities. Chief Scientist Jun met Jin at the dock. "The excavation site is ready for your inspection," he said, leading her to a small submarine. They descended through layers of ancient ice until reaching a dark cavern. Work lights illuminated what appeared to be the remains of a structure not built by human hands. "We discovered this last year," Jun explained. "Carbon dating puts it at roughly 7,000 years old, before humans ever reached Europa." Jin examined the strange angular formations and the symbols etched into surfaces that resembled no human language. "Have you translated any of it?" she asked. Junni nodded. "Only fragments. It appears to be both a warning and a map." Back on Earth, Jin presented her findings to the Council. "The Europa site contains evidence that visitors came to our solar system long before unification. They appear to have left in haste, and the warning glyphs suggest they were hiding from something." The room fell silent as the implications sank. In Elder Han, Jin continued, "I believe our ancestors didn't just choose isolation to develop in peace. They were hiding us." Before Han could respond, the emergency alert system activated. Director Kwan's face appeared on the main screen. "Multiple objects have entered the outer solar system," he reported. "They're moving at speeds our sensors can barely track." In the days that followed, humanity waited. Military forces were mobilized for the first time in centuries. Colony ships prepared emergency evacuation protocols. The unified peace that had defined human existence for 5 millennia began to fracture under the weight of fear. Tae Kim released a system-wide broadcast from his hidden location. "Do not fear what comes," he urged. "The stellar vanguard has studied the ancient warnings. We believe Earth was once part of a galactic community until something drove our visitors away. The beacon doesn't just announce our presence, it calls for help from old allies. Jin didn't know if Tay was right, but her research suggested a more complex history than even the Council had revealed. She traveled to New Seoul to visit an old professor who had been studying pre-unification astronomical data. In his small apartment filled with old-fashioned printed books, Professor Sung showed her star charts dating back thousands of years. "Look at these patterns," he said, pointing to markings on the ancient paper. "Our ancestors were tracking something moving through the solar system. Not random observations, but coordinated monitoring of visitors." Jin examined the charts with growing understanding. They knew we weren't alone. More than that, Sung said, pulling out his final piece of evidence, a fragment of text thousands of years old. They were preparing us for eventual contact. As Jin left Professor Sung's apartment, her communication device chimed with an emergency alert. The approaching objects had entered the inner solar system. They would reach Earth orbit within 24 hours. Humanity's long peace was over. Whatever had heard their beacon was answering, and Jin couldn't shake the feeling that Earth's 5,000 years of silence had been merely the calm before a gathering storm. The object that entered Earth orbit wasn't a ship as humans understood the concept. It resembled a giant crystalline snowflake, its surface catching sunlight in ways that made it seem to glow from within. Nearly 2 kilometers across, it moved with impossible precision, settling into a perfect orbit above the North Pacific. Jin stood with Elder Han and the council members in the Global Communication Center, watching the main screen as smaller crystal structures detached from the main object and began descending toward Earth. "Are they attacking?" someone whispered. "No. Weapons signatures detected," replied Director Kwan. "The objects are adjusting their descent to match our atmosphere. That suggests intelligence and careful planning." One of the crystal pods was directed toward the Antarctic Council headquarters. Security forces moved into position, though their weapons seemed trivial against the unknown technology approaching them. The pod landed gently on the snow-covered field outside the main complex. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the crystal surface rippled like water and a figure emerged. The being walked upright on 2 legs and had 2 arms, but there, the similarity to humans ended. Its body seemed partly solid and partly translucent, with an internal structure that glowed with soft blue light. Its face had no mouth but featured 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle. "I am ready," Jin said, stepping forward despite Elder Han's cautioning hand on her shoulder. The being inclined its head and raised a hand in greeting. When it spoke, the sound didn't come from its body, but seemed to form in the air around them. "We are the Duri," it said in perfect Korean. "I am called Sul. We have observed your signal and come to welcome humanity to the greater community." 3 days later, Jin sat across from Seoul in a specially prepared meeting room. The temperature had been lowered to accommodate the visitors. Biology and Jin wore a thermal suit for comfort. "Your signal was unexpected," Sul said. "Many civilizations have observed Earth for centuries, respecting what we believed was your choice for isolation." "It wasn't exactly a choice," Jin replied. "Not for most of us." Sul's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Explain." Jin described how the Council had maintained cosmic silence, how the beacon's activation had been unauthorized, and how humanity was now divided over the prospect of joining a larger galactic community. "Interesting," Sul said. "Most species achieve unity through contact with others. You achieved it in isolation." "Not complete unity," Jin admitted. "The Stellar Vanguard believed we were hiding from our destiny." Sul's body pulsed with light. Perhaps they were correct, though not in the way they imagined. The universe is vast and filled with many kinds of life. Not all share our belief in peaceful coexistence. Jin leaned forward. "The artifacts we found on Europa, they were warnings, weren't they?" "Yes," Sul confirmed. "Left by the Duri who visited your system 7,000 years ago. We observed your early civilizations showing remarkable potential but also concerning aggression. When the Maru collective began expanding into this sector, we withdrew, rather than risk them discovering Earth. Who are the Maru? A species that believes emerging civilizations must be guided, controlled, until they prove themselves worthy of independence. A process that can take millennia. Jin felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. And now, they know we're here. Your beacon was powerful and distinctive. Many heard it, including the Maru. In the following weeks, more visitors arrived. Representative ships from 12 different species established orbit around Earth, and delegations arrived to meet with human leaders. The Duri helped facilitate these early contacts, translating language and explaining cultural differences. Jin became Earth's unofficial ambassador, her knowledge of history proving valuable in these unprecedented exchanges. She learned that the galaxy contained thousands of spacefaring civilizations organized into loose alliances and coalitions. The Concordat maintains peace through mutual respect and non-interference, Sol explained during a private meeting. But there are those who reject our principles. Jin was about to ask for clarification when an emergency alert sounded. A new ship had entered the solar system, its design dramatically different from the elegant vessels of the Duri and other Concordat species. This craft was angular, dark, and bristling with what were unmistakably weapons. The Maru, Sol said, body dimming with what Jin had come to recognize as concern. They have arrived sooner than expected. The Maru vessel broadcast, a message to Earth and all ships in orbit. The voice was harsh and mechanical in its translation. Unregistered civilization designation Earth. You have revealed yourselves without proper authorization. Your technological development exceeds acceptable parameters for unmonitored species. Prepare for evaluation and potential containment. Sol turned to Jin, all three eyes focused intently on her face. How your people respond in the coming days will determine humanity's place in the cosmos. The Maru respect strength, but fear independence. They will test you. Jin looked out the window at the sky where invisible ships now orbited her world. 5,000 years of peace had prepared humanity for this moment, but not in the way anyone had expected. Then we will show them who we are, she said. The Maru ship loomed in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud promising storm. Unlike the elegant vessels of the Duri and other visitors, the Maru craft was a massive black hexagon, with sharp edges that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Jin sat with Elder Han and the Emergency Council as they watched the Maru delegation descend to Earth. Their landing craft touched down with military precision outside the Antarctic complex. Remember, Sul advised from her position beside Jin, show neither weakness nor aggression. The Maru respect protocol above all else. The Maru commander who entered the council chamber walked on 6 limbs, though he stood upright on 4 while using the upper 2 for gestures. His body was covered in overlapping plates that clicked softly when he moved. His name, translated through the Duri communication system, was Tech. Your species has developed beyond acceptable parameters without supervision, Tech stated without greeting. His voice came through the translator with cold precision. This presents a Category 3 violation of stability protocols. Elder Han stepped forward. We were unaware of such protocols. Earth has developed in isolation for 5,000 years. Tech's upper limbs made a dismissive gesture. Ignorance of galactic law is not a valid defense. The Maru Collective ensures order through proper development sequences. Jin studied the alien carefully. Despite his rigid manner, she sensed something beneath the surface. Not cruelty, but fear. Commander Tech, she said, humanity wishes to learn these protocols. We have maintained peace among ourselves for 5 millennia. Surely that demonstrates our capacity for order. Tech's head tilted slightly. Internal harmony is merely the first stage of acceptable development. Your technological advancement has proceeded without proper guidance. This creates unpredictable outcomes. In the days that followed, more ships arrived. The scholarly Nari, with their 4 eyes and slender bodies, requested access to Earth's historical archives. The Beni, who resembled tall pillars of shifting sand contained within environmental suits, offered trade agreements. Each new species brought different perspectives on humanity's sudden appearance on the galactic stage. Meanwhile, the Maru established a base on Mars, ignoring Earth's territorial claims. They began scanning all human settlements and technology centers from orbit. "They're mapping our capabilities," Director Kwan reported during an emergency session. "Military, energy production, communications, everything." "It is standard procedure," Sewell explained. "The Maru assess all emergent civilizations this way." "And then what?" Jin asked. "They will determine your classification level. Species deemed unstable are placed under direct oversight. Those deemed stable but unpredictable face technology restrictions." Elder Han's face darkened. "And if we refuse these classifications?" Sewell's body dimmed. "The Maru do not recognize refusal as an option." The situation grew more complex when Tai Kim emerged from hiding. He established open communication with several alien factions and began giving unauthorized tours of human facilities to curious visitors. "Humanity has hidden long enough," he declared in a global broadcast. "We have earned our place among the stars through our own efforts." Jin was surprised when Sewell requested a private meeting with her at the Europa Research Station. Away from both Earth governments and the Maru observers, the Duri seemed more open. "There is something you should know," Sewell said, leading Jin to the ancient alien structure buried in the ice. The warnings left here were not just about the Maru. Sewell placed a crystalline hand on the wall of symbols. The markings began to glow in response. "These speak of cycles," Sewell explained. "Long periods of galactic stability followed by upheaval. The last such period ended shortly after we visited your world 7,000 years ago." "What caused it?" Jin asked. "A species called the Void Makers. They appeared without warning, destroyed several advanced worlds, then vanished. The Maru rose to power in the aftermath, imposing their order to prevent such vulnerabilities in the future." Jin studied the glowing symbols with new understanding. "And our ancestors knew this?" "Your early leaders were shown these records. They chose isolation not from fear, but strategy. They believed humanity needed to develop independently if it was to survive the next cycle." Their conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. On Earth, the Maru had issued their formal evaluation of humanity. Classification: unstable potential. Recommended action: technology containment and oversight. The Maru demanded Earth dismantle its advanced defense systems, limit AI development, and accept Maru advisors in all human governments. Elder Han issued Earth's formal response. Humanity acknowledges the Maru collective with respect but must decline external governance. We request status as independent associates of the Galactic Concordat. The Maru Commander Tech responded immediately. Request denied. Compliance is mandatory. You have 3 Earth days to accept terms or face containment measures. As Jin rushed back to Earth on a Duri transport, she received a message from Tae Kim. "Meet me at the New Soul Archives. I found something our ancestors left for this moment." Outside her viewport, Jin could see the gathering ships in Earth orbit. Some had come to witness, some to support, and at least one, the dark Maru hexagon, had come to judge. The storm that had been building since the beacon's activation was about to break over humanity's world. The deadline set by the Maru passed without Earth's surrender. Jin stood beside Elder Han in the Global Defense Center, buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. A facility whose existence had been hidden even from most of humanity until now. "They're moving into attack formation," reported Director Kwan, watching as the Maru vessels positioned themselves above key Earth locations. Elder Han looked at the assembled council members. 5,000 years of preparation has led to this moment. Activate the shield. Throughout human history, resources that might have been spent on weapons had instead been directed toward defense and sustainability. Now, as the Maru ships launched their first strikes, humanity revealed its true technological achievement. From stations hidden on the Moon, Mars, and throughout the asteroid belt, invisible fields of energy expanded, interlocking around the Earth in overlapping layers. The Maru weapons, energy beams of incredible power, struck these fields and dispersed harmlessly. "Impossible," came the translated communication from the Maru commander. "Your technology cannot be this advanced." Jin watched as the shield held, against increasingly powerful attacks. The Maru had expected to find an emerging civilization with basic defenses, not a unified world with 5 millennia of focused technological development. "Open a channel to all ships in the system," Elder Han ordered. Han's face appeared on communication screens throughout Earth and across all vessels in orbit. "The people of Earth wish no conflict. For 5,000 years we have lived in peace, with each other, developing our technology not for conquest but for protection. We ask now to join the galactic community as equals, not as subjects." The Maru response was to launch a second wave of attacks, this time targeting human outposts on Mars and the Moon. But these too were protected by the same shield technology. "They will not stop," Sul warned, her crystalline body pulsing with concern. "The Maru cannot accept failure. They will escalate until they break through." Jin remembered her meeting with Tai Kim at the New Seoul archives before rushing to the Defense Center. He had shown her ancient plans left by the founders of the Unity Council, not just for defense but for a specific response to this very scenario. "Elder Han," Jin said urgently, "we need to show them our true strength." Han understood immediately. He nodded to Director Quan, who activated a secondary system. From launch sites across Earth and its colonies, thousands of small objects rose into space. These were not weapons but nanoscale fabricators, devices that could create complex structures from raw materials. The fabricators surrounded the Maru vessels, not attacking, but building. Within minutes, each Maru ship was encased in a delicate lattice that blocked their weapons ports without damaging their vessels. "Your ships are contained but undamaged," Han transmitted. "We could have destroyed them, but that is not humanity's way." The Maru commander's response came after a long silence. "How is this possible? Your species should not have this capability." Jin stepped forward to answer. 5,000 years ago, our ancestors chose a different path. They united not through conquest but cooperation. They built not to destroy but to preserve. Everything we've created has been done with one purpose: to ensure humanity's survival without threatening others. For several tense hours, the Maru ships remained immobilized in Earth orbit. Then, additional vessels arrived, representatives from the Galactic Concordat, summoned by the Duri when the conflict began. Jin found herself in the restored United Nations building in New Seoul, sitting across from representatives of 12 different species. The Maru commander Tech was present as well, his posture rigid but no longer threatening. "The Concordat acknowledges Earth as an independent associate world," announced the Nari representative, their 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "The containment, action by the Maru collective is overruled." Tech's upper limbs made a formal gesture of acceptance. "The Maru recognize Earth's demonstrated stability. However, we maintain observation rights." "Acceptable," Elder Han agreed, "provided such observation is mutual." The diplomatic session continued for days, establishing Earth's place in the wider galactic community. Jin worked closely with Sul and other alien representatives to draft the Solar Concordat, humanity's framework for interstellar relations. Tae Kim was pardoned for activating the beacon, his action now seen as the catalyst that had forced humanity to reveal its true potential. 50 years passed. Jin, now elderly but still active in diplomatic service, stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. Below her, the planet glowed with the lights of a unified civilization. Above, the stars no longer represented mystery, but opportunity. Ships departed daily for distant worlds, some carrying human explorers, others transporting visitors from across the galaxy. Near the station, a new construction was nearing completion, a massive beacon unlike the hidden device that had first announced humanity's presence. This new beacon served as a lighthouse, guiding peaceful travelers to Earth with a simple message that broadcast continuously into space. 5,000 years of peace has prepared us for friendship. "Was it worth it?" asked a voice beside her. Saul, the Duri diplomat who had become her closest alien friend, joined her at the viewport. Jin smiled, watching as another ship prepared to depart for the stars. every moment. Together, they observed as humanity's children took their place in the universe, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals who had earned their freedom through the wisdom of peace.